All right, write down on your notes, stop stopping. Thank you so much for reading today, Edward.
Thank you very much.
I would encourage you to do that 10 minutes every single day, just to get, into the swing of things. If you guys haven't bought that book, buy it. It's going to be very, very good for you guys. Write down this quote. Honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. Honesty is the first. I think you have it already on there. If you go on May 31st, June 5th of your passion planner.
May 31st.
Yeah, May 31st, June 6th. Honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. Today, I'm going to give you guys some golden nuggets that you guys can apply to anything in your life. And I want you guys to ask yourself a question. We are in a sales environment. We are in the #1 sales environment just because we continue to prospect every day. We set appointments, we continue to close escrow, and we're experiencing massive success because of our daily activity. Not to mention that we are staying consistent with our morning mastermind. I've been a part of a bunch of mastermind groups. They go for a while, bless you, they go for a while and then they feel good about themselves and then they stop. It's like working out or eating healthy, feel good about yourself and then you stop. So I want you to ask yourself this question. In life and in real estate, what systems do I have in my business right now? What systems do I have in my business right now? The two systems that should stand out, that should be on your top priority list, is prospecting and lead generation. Those are the two systems that you need to finely tune every single day for you to become a top sales professional. You know what's interesting? That right now, when Edward was reading the book, I wrote down on my notes immediately, I have $1 million in cash. Why would you not write that down when the book just said it? Does that sound a little bit ridiculous?
Yes, but
yes, but no.
No.
Does that make any sense? Because you start to believe I'm gonna net $1 million. Again, what happens if you only net 500? Hey, I'll take 500. Does that make any sense? But you guys have to get into the mindset of I have $1 million in cash. So is that loud and clear? What system do I have in my business right now? Prospecting and lead generating. I always talk to you guys about being very, very careful with busy. Busy work is what gets you guys to stop doing what you should be doing. Let me give you a quick example. The client comes in, you find yourself making copies of everything. That takes 2 to 3 hours, and all of a sudden you feel like you've been productive. Now, is that a part of your system? I wouldn't say that's a part of my system. My systems are linked to prospecting and lead generation. So here's what I want you guys to ask yourself, because you don't have to answer these questions to me, but you have to answer these questions to yourself. What can I do to enhance my lead generating and my prospecting? What can you do to enhance your lead generating and prospecting? David, maybe it's 10 or 15 more minutes of phone calls. That's an enhancement. Maybe a thank you card as a follow-up. Maybe a thank you email as a follow-up. Maybe sending, I don't know, a friend request. Yes, Dave.
It's funny you bringing that up, because as Edward was reading, I was putting together a marketing plan for.
Perfect.
So what I need to work on is my marketing.
Nice. So now I'm going to give you the golden nuggets today, because yesterday, and I want you guys to build this habit, because what's the secret sauce? I'm spending 10 minutes every single night before going to sleep and just jotting stuff down. And what I'm thinking about is, what have I been doing so that I can give to you guys, so that I can show to people on YouTube and on social media that the reality is that this is not rocket science. This is just stuff that you guys need to know every single day so that you guys could be up to par. So what can I do to enhance those systems? Let me give you an example. I just closed the client. It's been 3-4 days. Maybe it's been a little bit longer. I asked myself, what did I do to call that customer to get more clients? You know what my answer was? Nothing. I didn't do anything. So why would I not enhance that system and put a strategy together so that when the closing date arrives, I already have a different touch system for that customer? hey, Alejandro, were you happy with the service that I provided? Who else do you know that's looking to buy or sell? Guaranteed they're gonna provide somebody. The reason we don't get that is because we don't have a system to doing the follow-up. Therefore, we're fearful of making that call because we automatically assume it's done and it's gone. I'm not talking to you about you specifically. I'm talking about myself also. You know what I mean? Like now, this morning even I couldn't even enjoy my breakfast thinking like, how many of those calls have I not made? Because it's not systematic. And how much business am I truly losing because I'm not doing that follow-up call? Maybe something simple like, hey, it's been a week since we closed escrow. Anything I can provide to you of service? They're gonna say nothing, but hey, by the way, now that I have you on the phone, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell? Everybody knows somebody that automatically says, hey, you just bought that house, who sold it to you? Well, so-and-so, but you guys stop following up. Does that make any sense? So I want you guys, that's an example of what I want you guys to do. I have been sending letters to some of my customers, and it stood out that there's one couple, Thomas and Judy. This couple always refers me. And you know why they refer me? Because I always stay on top of mind. Something happens, I'm calling them. I list something, I'm calling them. It's almost like I'm doing it just because I've set up that system. So ask yourself, this year, because we talked about knowing your numbers, how many of those clients have you closed that you can reach back to and say, hey, how's it going? I know there's COVID-19. Anybody in your family sick? Is there anything I can provide of value? And then jump into that conversation. By the way, who do you know that wants to buy or sell real estate? Does that make sense? So write these down. David, for you specifically, because you were writing that right now on marketing, what's a better closing experience? Ask yourself, what's a better closing experience? A better closing experience would be closing the customer and then making a follow-up call to see if anything went wrong. I talked to a customer recently and I asked him, hey, can you give me some genuine feedback? He said, Jesse, everything was so perfect, but there was one set of documents that you guys needed at the closing that I think you guys could have got from the beginning. Now, is that negative? Was that going to kill the deal? No. But what does that say? I have to enhance my system as a professional. And I got to make sure that everybody around me does the exact same thing. I'll give you guys an example. If you guys are in the middle of an escrow and Estrella provides documents, why not systemize how you do it? But it's all over the place sometimes. Sometimes it's email, sometimes it's in person, sometimes it's like mail. Create a system so that you know every single time the customer gets the exact same experience. Yes, David?
The thing I've been needing to work on, because I've been having this issue repeatedly, I've been noticing, is the DocuSign.
Right.
I just keep on sending it to clients and they're like, oh, I can't figure it out. And going back and forth and
right.
You could tell they're getting like annoyed by it.
So this is what I would do to improve your system. Always put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. So maybe you should send yourself a DocuSign, really understand what the consumer is doing, because it could be a quick fix as, hey, I've done it before. These are the steps that it takes. Simple phone call. Why am I a big fan of the DocuSign and I push it? Because you guys are going to get so busy with so many transactions that it's not going to make sense to go and spend 5-6 hours trying to chase documents when everything is all done in the computer. Does that make any sense? Now, is there still customers that I go and cater to and I have to go and sign? Yes, there is. There's a lot of customers that I'm still carrying the documents for, but the reality is that we are evolving. Look what happened during this pandemic. How many of us knew that we were going to transition into so many video calls? We didn't think about that, but the technology is there. So my best advice is just systemize it and then have an exit strategy. If the client right away says, I'm not going to be able to figure it out, okay, come into the office. Or I'm going to go to you, but you have to see what's more efficient for David Patikian, because it's all about you. I mean, I know it's all about the customer, but what I'm saying, it's all about you creating a system that's going to be duplicatable so that the customer gets the exact same experience. Specifically, if you guys are asking for referrals, David, they're going to know if you did something differently with one customer than the other, because they all talk to each other. It's like the agent that starts to collect a lower amount of commission, and then all of a sudden they wonder why they can't charge other people more. It's because they've already talked and it's not systemized. Does that make any sense? So another thing to stand up that stands out, How can I enhance my system so I could have better communication with the customer? How many of you guys have ever been in the market for purchasing anything? Do you guys remember being nervous about it? Just even a little bit where you're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? And automatically we think the other person's gonna rip me off. I don't know why that's always our first protection mechanism. Like, I'm gonna get ripped off.
Like buying a car feeling almost.
Anything, just like, I've even been in a car dealership and I'm sitting there and I'm like, here comes the closer. And all of a sudden, like, my guard is super up and I'm trying to do all this research. All it is communication in reality. Or maybe the salesperson explained to me, hey, Jesse, these are the simple 3, 4, 5 steps that we're going to take so that we can close this deal. Versus the client always wondering, like, what's next? Yesterday, I got a report from somebody, a customer that gave me feedback on one of our previous agents. And the number one thing they complained about was communication. They're like, no communication. Some clients, all they want is a simple text. Some of these clients, I'm getting used to calling them and telling them, hey, by the way, there's no update. That's your update. Hang up the phone. Does that make any sense? But it makes them feel that there is a communication process that you guys are engaging in. Another one that stands out to me last night was, how do you enhance your system for a better initial presentation? I would write that down. How is your initial presentation? Can I give you guys some advice? They never know how cookie cutter it is. They will never know how cookie cutter it is because this is new to them. Only you know that you've been repeating this stuff over and over. But only you know because you're so finely tuned at it. They don't know. To them, it's like, oh, this is the first time I'm doing this, first time I'm selling the house. Does that make sense to you guys? So set up your initial presentation. I've learned that the customer loves when you say, hey, we're already in escrow. Your next step is send in your escrow deposit within the first 24 to 48 hours. They do that, and then you go into your setup and you're like, hey, next step is home inspection. Hey, next step is disclosures. You see how you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone? You're setting up a better initial presentation and you're developing some solid communication. That's the best thing you could do for your customer because you start to execute. So how many of you guys know that we're going to finish the quarter at the end of this month? Like this is the second quarter is done as of June. Does that make sense to you guys? July 1st is quarter number what? Nobody knows. July 1st is quarter number 3.
Yeah.
Third quarter.
The third quarter. What does that mean to you guys?
Halfway through the year.
You're halfway through the year. Check what you've done the last 6 months that hasn't worked. Look, I understand. And I try to work really hard on keeping your mind strong, but we literally went through 2 really, really bad months. It was really, really bad. But you guys didn't feel it because we've been so consistent at it. I would say that's something to be proud of. That's something to be very proud of. But now that we're finishing this quarter in the next 25 days, why don't you guys know your numbers? If you only did very few transactions, there's nothing wrong with knowing what you did. You know why you guys don't want to know the true numbers? Because you're scared to hear the actual truth. That's what the quote said. The quote says, honesty is the first chapter in the book of wisdom. So you guys need to know your numbers, what you did, what you didn't do, what you can do better. So here's another thing. Now that you know your numbers, or now that you're going to investigate your numbers, wouldn't it be smarter to start to research your potential clients? To really research what they really want? To really research where they want to be at? Some of these customers, you're going to learn that they're so unrealistic, it's not worth to deal with them. Does that make any sense to you guys? So here's what I want you guys to do. With what I'm telling you this morning, you need to set up a plan that can be easily executed. I've been telling you guys to do 30 calls a day. You want to know how many calls I made this morning already? 11. So I'm already getting close to halfway point. I could finish my day at 1 p.m. if I choose to. I choose not to because I like to get into busy work. I'm going to correct that. But I'm just saying that's what salespeople suffer from. So here's a system that I wrote down that I'm good at, and you guys should write these down too. I'm good at door knocking. I'm really good at door knocking, actually. And you know, door knocking is not the thing right now because of the pandemic, but guys, it's coming back. You guys have experienced success with door knocking, so don't think I'm gonna let you off easy because we're gonna get back to that door knocking. The system that I'm good at is I'm good at my center of influence. Why are you not good at your center of influence? I had a conversation yesterday with Jesse Garcia, and he says, you know what's been working out with me a lot? The center of influence. I'm like, yeah, I know a lot of agents that I would say 100% of their business is all center of influence, making a very, very good $250,000 a year living, all center of influence. I'm not telling you to turn on a center of influence light bulb in your head right now, because I've learned that when I do coaching, I give one good idea and it's like, oh, everybody wants to go toward, no, I'm giving you like a broad idea so you guys, yeah, multiple of them. I'm good at cold calling. Why not enhance that cold calling system? You've been working on it for a while, David. You're already doing more than 50% of what people won't do, which is pick up the phone and dial. Why not enhance that system? Implement different strategies. For sale by owner, I'm good at for sale by owner. Why not enhance the for sale by owner system? Does that make sense? And here's the last one, because I know that you guys have been throwing ideas out there, but community events. You guys need to make sure that you guys are constantly showing up to the community events. I'm not saying to show up to the community events and be the #1 sponsor, the public speaker, none of that. Showing up in your very nice attire is more than enough, because you do it consistently. All of a sudden they're like, who's that guy that always shows up with his kid? It's always in tie. Oh, well, he happens to be the guy that sells real estate. Wow, that's very reputable. Start to hand you the deals. Who's that guy that always shows up, man? He's always about business. Community involvement is so important. I get it. It's not the right time, but things are going to come back to normal. Why are you not showing up to your local community events so that people can get to know you? Have you guys noticed that all the towns are all very small, regardless of whether you think about it or not? Think about the area that you live in, and I'm sure you've developed some type of consistent where you always walk into the same Starbucks, you always walk into the same supermarket. You get so familiar with people that you're always like, oh, hey, you already know who the people to say hi to. Those people have become your center of influence in your community. Why not go after them and tell them, hey, here's my business card. Let me know when you're looking to buy or sell. And you'll know right away, because they'll tell you, you know what, I am looking to buy or sell. Perfect. Let me get your information. Consistency is key. Then you guys are going to get the questions because of your enhanced systems. Hey, what do you do? I see you all the time. It's like 7 a.m. and you're already here getting your coffee. I'm just enhancing my systems. When you plan on moving, do you rent or own? Ask yourself these questions. You got to be so fanatical about it that if you're speeding on the 118 freeway and the police officer stops you, you ask him right away, hey, before you give me that ticket, officer, do you rent or own? That type of fanatical, you know what I'm saying? Because believe it or not, these people are buyers. You don't know. Again, you miss 100% of those shots that you do not take. And if you don't want to take the shot, I get it. But if there's shots that you need to take them right now. Then you're going to feel the benefit of, man, I should have asked. The cop might tell you, well, I own, I rent or whatever. Why not close them? You know, his incomes are these, how much are these guys getting paid? They're getting paid
50 or 60 a year.
50 or 60 a year at an entry level. Once they
Some
get
more around 100.
yeah, some are making 100. So
In their years, yeah.
my mindset in my system is $100,000 a year income earner so that they can qualify smoothly versus 50, 60,000, or I have to put 3 or 4 of them together. Does that make any sense to you guys? These are all sales techniques that you guys need to make sure you guys are paying attention to. So here's what I want you guys to write down, and I'll finish this because I'm going in longer than I should. 70% of your business comes from where? The follow-up. So I know you guys are getting these phone calls and these numbers and blah, 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 but the reality is that the lead follow-up is what's getting you the deals, and you don't even see it because you haven't enhanced that system. I'm paying attention to it because I'm like, where am I converting the most? It's all the follow-up. It's that 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th call, not the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd call. So why am I so focused on the first, second, and third? I'm focused on the first, second, and third because that's what keeps me busy, makes me feel like I'm productive. But those 7, 8, 9, 10 number of call is what gets me the money in the pocket. Enhance those systems, stay focused on it. 80% of your day, write this down, should be invested into lead generation. This is the part where I'm gonna start holding you guys accountable, because you should be doing 80% of your day. If you have an 8-hour workday, what's 80% of it? Let's just say 6 hours. 6 hours of that day should be focused to calling. Your biggest issue is the fact that you're not considered a 9-to-5 wage earner, so you feel like you have the freedom to say, hey, I've already made my phone calls for about an hour. What happens to 5 hours after that? Wouldn't that automatically be equivalent to like more money in your pocket? That's what I always think. So I'm like, if I could call 10 more people, and you know what? This is how I would rate your business. If you guys want to make it plain and simple, look how many text messages are going in and out every single morning. And when you look at those, you could tell, damn, I'm busy or I'm not busy. When I'm not looking at text messages and consumer interaction, I'm like, why is it slow? What am I doing wrong that it's slow? And that's when I'm like, nah, I got to be sending people more property. I got to be scheduling appointments. I got to do all that stuff. So 80% of your day should be invested into lead generation. Lead follow-up, which is 70% of how you guys make your money, should be intended to set an appointment. And this is not to toot your horn. This is what David does differently. He sets the appointment. You got to set the appointment there. Like, hey, I need you to meet with me at this place at 4 p.m. If they don't show up, guess what? You still went on with the meeting. You still went to go look at a property. You still engaged in real estate activity. So here's what I want you guys to determine. What's a dead lead and what's a live lead? This is what I'll wrap it up with, I promise, because I have a bunch of information. You guys want to know how you guys can really, really determine if it's a dead or a live lead? Qualify them. Every lead needs to get qualified. How do you qualify them? By asking very, very simple questions. My number one question to a consumer every single time is what is your motivation to buy or sell? Because it's going to give me a sense of urgency versus let me walk them through the whole process. Their motivation was, let's just see if it sells. And the let me see if it sells is equivalent typically to a cancellation. When I qualify somebody that tells me, hey, what's your motivation to buy? And they're like, I'm just trying to find a good deal. I'm like, that's not gonna go well. But anyway, let's do our affirmations so that we can get to work.